Guys, welcome to 11 Minutes with Felicity. I'm Felicity from Felicity the Power Within. I'm happy to have a very powerful guest again on our show. It's Nikki, who's a spiritual coach and a mindfulness coach as well. Welcome back, Nikki. Very good to have you on.
Thanks, Felicity. Lovely to be here.
Today, we actually got together and we started talking about a topic that is very close to both of us. And we had this idea that we would talk together about it. And the topic is so much needed during these times, and it's called mental health awareness, because May is the Mental Health Awareness Month. So, Nikki, you have the floor. Please join the discussion, because my time will come later. But now I want to ask you, how do you feel about this topic, and why do you feel so passionate about this topic?
Thanks, Felicity. Well, this is such a passion of mine to talk about this, because awareness is key. We all suffer at different levels. It can be from mild anxiety to full-blown depression, and we tend to push on. We don't indulge, we absorb, we don't absorb. But if we don't create awareness on what's happening within us and around us, I mean, it's not only for ourselves, but for our loved ones, our friends, our family, that we can be derailed. Now, we know that we're living in tough times, and it's more about trying to survive rather than figuring out how best to thrive rather than survive. So it is such a passion of mine as a coach, and for the month of May, I will be posting lots of information and tips and resources on ways that we can look after ourselves and those around us. So I'm very passionate about it.
So the world is dealing right now with such a high degree of exactly what you said, anxiety and depression. Let's start. If you have, you're in the first stages, let's say, of anxiety, or you go into depression, what are the signs? What do you feel? And what's that mark that you should definitely do something, you should definitely address it?
Well, first of all, mindfulness is very powerful. When we live in a mindfulness way, we know what feels right and what doesn't feel right. So the first thing we need to do is to become mindful of how we're feeling. So it can be as mild as, okay, I'm having a little anxiety. I went on the road. I had to wear my mask. I was around a lot of people. But I can come home and do a little meditation and I'm okay. If we're finding that it's going from day into day, it's starting to maybe cripple you as far as maybe you don't want to go out, or you don't want to be with loved ones and close ones because you are internalizing. These are the kind of red flags. I mean, I don't want to start walking around, over analyzing ourselves, that every little thing we're panicked. But when we're completely aware, then we know what does not feel right. And then that's our red flag. So it just really starts with us. It starts with us, and also not only within us, but for others. So if you're with your loved ones or your friends or your family, say you have a friend who you're constantly reaching out to every day, every other day, and all of a sudden you're noticing not hearing from her or him. You reach out and the tone is very to the point or whatever. That is a red flag that you need to go in and see. Go a little deeper with them, reach out to them, say, is everything all right? And if you're finding that you're not getting that response the way they used to be, reach out to somebody else for that guidance. Don't take it on yourself if you can't fix it, because there is a huge amount of support. So when I say when we talk about red flags, it's just being an awareness that if something doesn't feel right, please address it. Do not let it sit. Do not let it fester. Do not let it grow, because you don't have to. There's no shame. So I talk about this stigma and the silence. We need to speak up. We need to speak out for ourselves and for those around us.
So, what about deep depression, like clinical deep depression? Because many of the people around across the world actually don't know how to deal with that. They don't even know that they have it. Maybe. Well, what are the signs? Even going to until suicidal panic attacks and the feeling that you really want to finish up your life.
No, it's real. It's real for people, but again, awareness that there are support. And even if it is that you are in doubt and you don't know, talk about it, reach out to somebody. I mean, there's so many different levels of support, which I will be going into in May as well, from what I do, which is a coach, where I allow you to go a little deeper and dig a little deeper, all the way up to a psychologist or a psychiatrist who will go even further than I am capable of doing. But it starts with us being able to be open and receptive and allow ourselves to be vulnerable, to say, look, something is not right. It doesn't mean that you're labeling yourself. It just means you are saying, look, somebody said to me the other day, when we have a cold or we have a back pain, if we have a back pain, we're not going to go to a dentist. We're going to go to somebody who deals with back pain, but we actually go to somebody. Why is that we don't do that for our mind? Why is it that we say, oh, it'll get better, it'll go away? No. So if something doesn't feel right, go to somebody, find that person, start somewhere. That's what there is support out there, and people need to be willing and open to talk about it.
Yeah. And we also have lots of helplines and nonprofits they can address to and talk to. And what's important to say is that this sort of mental health issues can come whatever. It doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. You can be a teenager. You can be a person over 60 or even over 70, an adult. So it's all ages, it's everywhere across the globe, so it's very present.
Oh, it is. And I mean, even in the month of May, we'll be celebrating Children Do Suffer Too. There is a Children's Awareness Day in May, and children are suffering, from they're losing their connection with their school friends and being in that connection. So they're suffering. To the elderly, Felicity, who can't connect with their friends, who cannot even see their family, which, you and I have discussed it. So it's all shapes, sizes, color, gender. It does not discriminate. It does not discriminate. We're all at some level needing some form of support. Absolutely correct on that.
Totally. So, what about when we see people that are dear to us, that are going through this kind of an affection, they have this kind of a conflict inside, but they don't want to address it, they don't want to realize that it's there? How can we help them?
That's a tough one. Honestly, it's really tough, because your hands feel tied, because as the saying goes, you can't help somebody who doesn't want to help themselves. But that does not mean that we must do nothing. So talking about it with their family. So if it's a friend, you talk to their family, a mother, a father, brother, or sister. When you create a support around that person, it's like a life preserver. It will come out in force. So we may not be able on our own to fix it or solve it, but when we create the awareness with a mother or a father and say, look, I don't, I'm not liking how Sean is sounding, perhaps you should talk to him. And mother may say, oh my goodness, I didn't even know. And it will feed from there. So again, it's a community coming together to support each other. That's how we have to do it. We have to do this together, because guess what, Felicity, we're all in this together.
Oh yeah, we definitely are. Yeah. And It's just a matter of deciding that you really want to be well and you really want to go on with your life.
Mm-hmm. It's a choice. It's a choice that we all live, whether how we want to live. I wrote about it this morning, is that we cannot change what's going on in the world, but what we can change is how we decide to live in this world. And it's all a matter of choice.
One other question I have for you is about being burnt out, because when we have adults working a lot of having a lot of pressure or under critical conditions, we tend to get burnt out, and we've all been through that at one point in our life. This is also a form of such a mentally just a mental state that can affect your whole body. How can we address that if we have a full-time job that it burns out?
Burnout is very real, and what I could say to that is self-care. I cannot preach this enough to women, men, children, everybody. You've got to take time for yourself. You've got to take the time out to pause, take time off from work, get in your exercise, because there's that mind-body connection. These things will help with burnout. And something as simple as we say it's a simple burnout, but it's a real thing, can lead to further issues. So why not we cut it at the source? That if you're feeling that burnout feeling, take time for yourself, exercise, self-care, downtime, love, self-love. These are the things that will nourish the body, nourish the soul, and nourish your mind. Self-care, I can't say it enough.
Totally. So breathing, meditation, go out into the park, go out into nature, go within and find, how are you feeling, just being mindful, like you said. And if that's not enough, if you don't get any results with that, you should definitely go for a therapist, go for a coach first, maybe. After that, go to a therapist, a psychologist, and search for some help, because it's really that important, and it can make a difference in your life totally.
Oh, absolutely, because you're doing it for you. Not only are you doing it for you, but you're doing it for everybody around you, because how can you help others and be a support to others if you're not filling your own tank, so to speak? So yes, I agree. Look, just be in awareness of what's happening within your body, within your mind. And if it doesn't feel right, then it isn't right. Then you start with the support. Reach out to a friend. Start with a friend. A lot of people are scared to call a therapist or call a coach. Oh my God, I don't need a coach. Okay, fine, no problem. Talk to a friend. What's going on with me? I don't understand. And it feeds from there. It's just reaching out. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be anything else other than just reaching out. Another thing I have to say is check in. Check in with yourself first. Check in with your family and your friends. Check in. Self-care, check in are my two mantras, my two things that I love to preach.
What about parents that have a child that is dealing with depression and anxiety? How can they help them?
It's hard for a parent to see a child go through something like that, without a doubt. Again, it's just opening up that communication, Felicity. Denial is real for a lot of parents, that we don't want to address it, that there may be something wrong with the child. So we need to get out of that space and get into, I have to help, whatever that is. Now, it could be turning it over to somebody completely. Look, you need support. Here you go. It could be that, or it could be sitting with that child every day. But again, it starts with awareness. It's again being aware of those around you. It can be your children, it can be a husband, a wife, it can be anybody, it could be a parent, a child and a parent. It can go reverse ways too.
Yeah.
So it's just starting with awareness of what's going on around you. Don't allow life to sweep you by. You've got to be aware. Awareness is key. But what about sharing your story? I'd love to hear your story, because it's important that to break the stigma and the silence, that people hear that it actually happens to people. So how about sharing your story, your journey?
Yeah, I would be happy to, and it's the first time I'm doing it publicly. So my story related to this topic is that last year in September 2020, after being over, a very difficult year with the pandemic and everything, and we had to stay in our houses for so much time. I was dealing with a lot of pressure, mental pressure and emotional pressure as well, because I have been through some emotional difficulties during the whole year. And I just felt at one point I should just stop, because I didn't want that life anymore, in the matter that I wanted something different. I didn't want to be miserable. I didn't want to be unhappy. Something needed to change inside and outside, because I just reached a point where enough was enough. So I just felt it with my whole body, with the mind and heart, and I just reached out and said, I don't want this life to be like this. I want to be happy. I want to be fulfilled. I'm sure I was not meant to be on this planet just to have a miserable life. I just don't want that. I know I'm meant to do greater stuff on this planet. I want to change people, to help them. And I want to be healthy. I want to be free. I want to be abundant and prosperous. I want to live the life of my dreams. I want to travel. And I want to speak my truth to the whole globe. And this is what I'm doing right now with 11 Minutes with Felicity. And that point, that was my rock bottom. Now I know it. I didn't know it at the time. And it was definitely my rock bottom. I didn't reach out for help because I felt so powerful that I could shift at that point. And I just shifted in one night. This was my experience with it. I found on Facebook this online interviews. I found this coach. So coaching really helps. I found this coach that had some live sessions, and she was talking so passionately about being free, about living your dreams, living your life, and just be yourself. And I listened to her for 1 hour and a half. And I closed the video and I just went to bed, knowing that there is something more for me. And I woke up in the morning free. I don't know how to explain it. It just freed myself. I freed myself, I know that now, from everything I had. And from that point, my healing journey started to, on all levels. And now I know true healing begins when you're sick of being sick.
I love that.
And when you're sick of everything, you just, there is nowhere to go than up. So that was it. And I started reading a lot. I started, everything came onto me. And by January this year, I started a lot of deep meditation and breath work. And I do it now every day. I do journaling. I always set aside for myself 1 hour and a half in the morning. I cannot start my working day if I don't have 1 hour and a half for myself. It doesn't matter the day. It doesn't matter where I am. I just take 1 hour and a half after I wake up and have some me time. And then in the evening, I use also maybe 30 minutes to let the day go and to disconnect from the day. And I go mentally through the whole day and clean it, forgive it. I just go to every single moment I have during the day where I didn't feel aligned and ask myself, what can I do to align that context again or that person? And after that moment, a lot of forgiveness started pouring inside of me, and that's it. And I know it's a little bit in another direction. It's not only mentally, but it's also a spiritual awakening for me. I know that was it.
They're connected.
Yeah, they are. And I discovered true love, which is really unconditional, and it's everywhere with the parents, the sisters, the beloved ones. It's really that point when you reach that awareness of being one, and that's very deep. And I really hope, what I wish for right now is that every person on this planet can reach the point where they truly can feel one with everything that is created on this earth. And that's it.
Wow, Felicity, that's an amazing story. It is so amazing that you made that choice. You were in complete awareness of this wasn't right for you. That was your red flag.
Yeah.
And you just did something about it. And what worked for you was that you didn't need to seek counsel, which was fine because you could do it from within, which is beautiful. So it's all connected, but it starts with us. It starts with you being awareness, which is beautiful. You see, so as I started up by saying, it can be from anxiety, burnout, to full blown. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
that's a beautiful story. Thank you for being real, and thank you for being vulnerable, because it makes people, break the stigma. It's okay to not be okay.
Totally. Yeah, it's okay to be weak, to be unhealthy, to do, I just took the wrong decisions at the right time. So, and I know that I've been on a self-discovery journey, and it's, it doesn't matter if you're 30 or 40 or 50 or even 100, you can totally do that. And it only takes a decision.
Choice, as I said, we only get to choose how we want to live in this world. We can't change the world, but we get to choose how we want to live in this world, which is beautiful. The choice is ours. So gorgeous. True. Love that story. That's beautiful. Very empowering.
Thank you for inviting me to share it to the world.
Absolutely. Everybody, we need to talk about it. We have to talk about it, because we got to break the stigma. Totally. There is a stigma. We got to break it. Got to talk about it.
Thank you, Nikki, for being here. Thank you for your wisdom, for your, wanting all of us to be more aware of everything that we do. And thank you for letting me share my story.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Felicity. It has been such a true joy to hear your story. Thank you for sharing it with us.
And for sure, I would love to have you more on 11 Minutes with Felicity on other topics.
Absolutely. Thank you. Love that.
Thank you.
Thank you.